And this talk, let us keep this little bit more interactive. Why I'm saying is that is important because a lot of people do not know about GraphQL, though they already know about APIs, right? So the topic today I'm going to present is like down the rabbit hole, exploring GraphQL exploitation. So first I'll deep dive into what GraphQL is, why it is important for the companies, why they are using it, and then maybe we will dive more deeper and try to solve some labs here, if time permits here. So who am I? I am Himanshu Mehta. I am originally from India. I have traveled and lived around the globe, like US, France, UAE, India. Now I am currently living in Netherlands. What excites me is like cybersecurity. I have been in cybersecurity for almost like 12 to 13 years. And I have worked from the pen testing, like offensive side to defensive side, and also on gathering some security intelligence from the dark webs. So when it comes to pen testing, I was mostly involved in the like web app, network, radio frequency, car hacking, telecom hacking, and I presented some of the talks at Black Hat, Hack in the Box, RSA, just to name few here. And I'm an active member of the security communities around the globe. And what I do currently I am a CISO for one of the clients in Europe, and also doing some part-time role for a security assessment for one manufacturing company. Yeah, so I do usually interact, whatever the presentation were there today in the afternoon, when they were talking about budgeting, teaming, and how you should control the security risk. So I usually get involved in that, and that excites me. Yeah. So, okay, you can reach me out on Twitter and LinkedIn. Here I have pasted it here. Yeah. So, okay, first let me ask one question. How many of you guys already know about API? I guess probably everyone, right? See, yeah. So my guess was right. And now, how many know about GraphQL? Yeah, at least I say 60 to 70% hands. Yeah. So, do you guys know like why we need different kind of APIs? What are the different types of APIs? Like there might be so many different kind of APIs. Even I am not aware about. But there was like SOAP. Let us go back to the SOAP, and then REST came, and now a lot of companies are using GraphQL. Yeah. There was some problems in the SOAP, and that's why people started moving to REST, where they were using HTTP protocol. Yeah, and it made it a little bit faster for the request and response also when using APIs. Yeah. So when you see HTTP protocol, they used to cache it, and they had multiple endpoints. When I say multiple endpoints, that means for each and every request, there can be different multiple kind of requests that will contain only one particular information, and that's why there were multiple endpoints. And to solve that problem, GraphQL came into picture. Yeah. So GraphQL is actually not only an API; it's a query language API. Yeah. So what you can do is with single query, you can request multiple different types of information about a product or about a company, about an employee, you name it, and you can do it. And that is the reason most of the companies nowadays, including like Netflix, HackerOne, and all those companies, they are using the GraphQL API. Yeah. So now my next question to you guys: have you guys already worked on GraphQL API in the past? Anyone here? Yeah. And what you see like is a plus point and negative point. Can you just name one? Why you are using GraphQL API? Maybe you were told to use the API, yeah? GraphQL API. Like developer might have said like, okay, we are going to use GraphQL API and everybody is okay. Said, yeah, maybe we can use it. But always understand when you are choosing any API, the new technology you adopt to, more risk also you are exposing yourself. Yeah? So you can imagine the power. With great power comes the great responsibility, and that's why I quoted here. Yeah. So for this GraphQL, like it has a great power to just give you a response in a single query. But do you think like there are not malicious people around? We find malicious people everywhere in the globe, right? So they can just send one query, malicious query, and they can request a lot of information. Yeah. So there are a lot of issues that we are going to deep dive into GraphQL. But now let me go back a little bit back. Why you guys think like a lot of companies are using API nowadays? Maybe because of the cloud model, right? And API is very easy for them. Like mostly in SaaS offerings, they use the APIs, and it also makes them less responsible for the having this infrastructure and all. Yeah, so most of the things cloud service provider is taking care, and customer is only responsible for the data. Yeah, for data breach and other things. So what is a query language for API? It is just a query language, like it was developed by Facebook. Yeah, and as I explained earlier, like it just you send a request in a query form and it will give you the response. So I'll deep dive more into that. Yeah, it has some kind of declarative syntax. So mostly you will find JSON, like I do not remember full form, maybe JavaScript object notion. Yeah, you will find in a JSON format, and it's pretty simple format to understand. Yeah, and then it is very flexible and scalable. So when I say flexible and scalable, that means like you can transform the query based on your requirements, right? And that is why it is more being adopted by the companies. So as I told earlier, it's an API query language. Wherever you see this particular signal, like a pentagon, and in between the triangle, that stands for GraphQL. And as I told earlier, like a lot of other APIs, they were using different endpoints. What I mean by that, like to request for resource 1, maybe you are using get parameter. Yeah. For resource 2, maybe you are using get parameter 2. For third resource, you are using post parameter. But in case of GraphQL, you can either use so most of them are using only post in GraphQL. Yeah, you can just transform your query into one, and you can send just one request instead of sending 3 different requests. So this is a basic. In case you guys already know about REST API. Yeah, this is how REST API looks. So if you see here, it is requesting for user 1, 2, 3, and then response is only getting for the user 1, 2, 3. The next request you can see it is for order 4, 5, 6, and you are getting response for order 4, 5, 6. This is GraphQL query. You can see it is requesting for user ID 1, 2, 3, and also it is requesting for the order for the product. Yeah. So you can see within one single query you can get all those information. So why do you need multiple queries? It's as simple as that. And that is why a lot of people are using GraphQL, but it also depends on your use case, because a lot of companies will have separate endpoints, and separate endpoints they need it for their business, and that's why they choose REST. Yeah? Okay, so how GraphQL works, I'll not deep into GraphQL, because I'll allow you guys to explore it yourself. Yeah, so it's more like a graph structure. What we saw in a previous query, when you will, I'll show you like later on, like how it is mapping in a graph form, right? So you will be it's very easy to do the mind map for the GraphQL queries, and that is why it is easier for anyone to understand, whether it is a developer, user, end user, anyone can easily understand it, right? And queries are being used to fetch the data. So like if you are using a structured database, for example, it's so simple to integrate with that and to just request a query. Yeah. Then there are mutations. Just like in a database, you will have CRUD functionalities, right? Like create, update, delete, all those kind of functionalities are there. Similarly, in GraphQL, there are mutations. Using mutations, you can edit something. For example, today I have suppose 1,000 euros in my account, but I did purchase some object or item. Yeah, so my account should detect it. It should show only, for example, I purchased for 100 euros, so it should show only 900 euros into my account. And those kind of addition and all, editing and all can be done using mutations here. And then also there are fragments. Fragments are like everywhere nowadays when you are using web. So fragments are easily, you can save it in a form of list of fields. Yeah. And then there are meta fields, like more details about the columns, rows, and all those things. These are very important for you to understand, because when I will tell later, you can easily mind map. Yeah. So without wasting time, let me dive deeper more into the GraphQL recon. Okay. So most of you might be already aware about OWASP top 10, web application, reconnaissance methods and all, yeah. And frankly speaking, GraphQL is no exception, yeah. It's as simple as that. You can still follow the OWASP top 10. And the only thing is like the understanding for you to explore the GraphQL, it differs from the normal programming languages. For example, you see something in PHP, in Java, the methodological understanding of those programming languages required when you are doing pen testing of web application, for example, source code review, yeah. So in GraphQL, again I'm saying it's not a rocket science. If you just understand basics, it's very easy to exploit GraphQL, and that is why a lot of companies are putting it into bug bounty programs, responsible disclosure programs, and a lot of companies are also running hackathon programs within their company, yeah. So we will again deep dive more into these. So first one is like finding GraphQL endpoints. So it's always like how we do in web application, like finding subdomains and then finding more endpoints, right, where we can reach out for our request. Then exploiting the unsanitized arguments. So with every request you are sending a lot of arguments, and we will try to manipulate those arguments to get a different kind of response, yeah, that it was not supposed to give but it gave to us. Then we will discover more about schema information. Schema information is like you can call it like a logical design of the database in the backend, yeah. So if you know how database works, it will be more simpler for you to understand this GraphQL. Then we will also dig into some of the tools. I'll not dig more into that, but at least I'll guide you through some of the tools which can help you understand how GraphQL query looks like, how you can draft a request, and how the response should look like, yeah. Before doing anything, like you want to picturize it in front of you, right? So and tools always help us. So let us deep dive into first one. So you see here, yeah, we have already understood the query. So it's very simple query. I think everybody can understand this query, right? It's as simple as that. Like you are requesting for so there was a query for a missing product, and they just wanted to create a query for that missing product ID, and that ID is like, for example, 3 here. And along with that, they passed on some parameters like ID, name, and listed. And you can see here in the response, you can see it's so plain and simple to understand. Like ID was 3, name was product 3, and listed, whether it is listed here or not, no, it just gave like that, yeah. And the good thing about these responses, like you can easily try to manipulate. Maybe, for example, I'll just give you a hint, yeah. What about you can also request for the parameter price? You can guess it, right? From your understanding, you might try to get the price of the product, maybe because you are shopping it online at multiple websites, for example, right? And you know, like they are using GraphQL query, for example, and you want to see like what is their internal product price, right? And what is the offer that they are going to put in. So you can maybe try some parameters like price, or maybe like euros or something like that parameter. Maybe you will get the response as well, yeah. But obviously that thing will come when you will think about the access control permissions and all. We will also talk about that, yeah. So a quick tip, yeah. Every GraphQL endpoint has a reserved field called _type name that returns the queried object's type as a string. So whenever you are passing it, you have to pass it as a string. So this is more from developers, testers, and pen testers perspective. So there are multiple endpoints that you can look when you are looking for the GraphQL. For example, when you are browsing a browser, you can maybe use some kind of developer tools. If you are using a interceptor like a burp suite, you can look into the burp suite. You can capture the traffic like for the request, and then you can see how it is responding to those queries. So you will see multiple web requests coming into maybe the burp suite or into developer tools. But these are the endpoints that I have listed here are the key to finding whether it is running GraphQL and whether you can move one step ahead with your pen testing or maybe diving deep into some kind of findings. Yeah? So some of them are like GraphQL This is the most common thing, yeah. Slash GraphQL, if you see, that means they are using GraphQL. Slash API, it might not be, yeah. So they might be using some other kind of APIs, but this also helps. Sometimes they just name it slash API. Then slash API GraphQL slash GraphQL slash API slash GraphQL. So it also depends on the developer's business design and all, but yeah. And sometimes you have to append the slash v1. Yeah, this is just I'm sharing one tip, because sometimes people say like there is no GraphQL. Yeah, but sometimes you need to look into the directory with slash v1. So first one, yeah. So finding GraphQL endpoints. What are other tips that I can share with you? First one is look for response for a non-GraphQL request. So for example, if you see some kind of GraphQL query, yeah, okay, they might be using, you are not sure. Maybe you can try to draft some request and send it to the server, and maybe it will return the messages like query not present. So you can understand that, okay, they might or might not be exposing the GraphQL for the public use, and that is the first point. Yeah, so you know like whether where to stop and where to start. That is also important to understand. And then look for the get request and post request. So get request is always easier for us to understand, but in GraphQL most of the companies use post request, and it is also easier to get the response for the post when you use some kind of tool like Bubsuit. Yeah. And then you can also try resending the universal query using alternative HTTP methods. Yeah. And here in this case, like a GraphQL case, you can use HTTPS. Yeah. So for securing the communication and all. But most of the companies don't do. They still follow the HTTP and all those protocols here. Best practice is only accept post request with a content type of application /JSON. That is the practice for the developers. Now, let us move to the second point, how you will do GraphQL recon using exploiting unsanitized arguments. So we already saw in the previous query, we were requesting for some of the IDs. So here you can see like you can craft a query just for multiple products. You just have to craft a query like products, ID, name and listing. Yeah. So and you can see like there were maybe 4 or 5 products listed. So ID1, ID2, ID4 you can see, yeah, and ID3 is missing. I showed you some of the query like previously where ID3 was missing, and that is part of this one, yeah. So now you know like you can request for multiple products, and if something is missing, maybe let me go back to that screen, you will understand. So here you can see ID1, 2 and 4, and this is the missing ID which I showed you earlier. Yeah? So you can specifically request for this particular ID also, and this is how you should target the GraphQL. Yeah, and this is the one very good tip. So you know if some information is missing, that is also like the point of interest to you. Yeah. So most of the times you will also notice, at least I have noticed, like products have a sequential ID, and the people who are the developers and database administrators, they also usually use it sequential ID to assign the products and maybe for some other items also. Yeah. Now third point is like discovering schema information. So I already explained what is a schema, and this is very important. This might get a little bit tricky when you are trying to find a bug for the GraphQL, because when it comes to schema, it also depends, like few people can understand the query, few people cannot, but trust me guys, it's very easy to construct the query parameter for the GraphQL, and that's why, and there are tools, I'll show you the tools also. Yeah. So these are called like introspection queries. So it's like interrogating something. Yeah. So you are interrogating about the schema about of a company or of a product. Yeah. So in this case, like you can see, like query the schema field. There is a field which you can always append or add. Yeah. And this is simple introspection probe request. It's not very complicated query, yeah. It's just simple query. Maybe you can copy paste also, and you can use it anywhere, like whoever is using GraphQL, yeah, to understand about their schema. But what happens? It might give some kind of response, which you might not able to map it here. So you don't know then where to step next. I'll also show you like how you can do that in the later slides. So just tip of the iceberg, Burpsuit has some extension which is free to use. It has got very good reviews. That is GraphQL introspection. You can just enable that in Burpsuit, and you can also try to send the request using Burpsuit. Yeah. Okay. So this did not come fully. So I will maybe try to show you. This is a query that I took from Web Security Academy of Codes figure. You can maybe go there and check out the full query. It was not coming on my slide. I'm really sorry for that. Yeah, but this is the one query which you can send to any GraphQL server, okay? And the kind of response that you get, that is now where you should be looking for. For example, when you do pen testing, yeah, you get access to some system. Maybe the user is less privileged. Then you want to go to the higher level, to a high privilege like admin or root privilege access, yeah? Or maybe you want to pivot through network and you want to get to some system or asset which is more which contains more sensitive information. So same thing happens for GraphQL also. So if you want to just craft one query that gives all the response, just imagine how simple it is, right? So what I'm trying to say is like you can test 100 products in just 1 hour, for example, just by doing it manually. You don't even have to use some kind of tools, yeah? So sometimes you might not get response very nicely, and you can try removing, that's why I added as a tip, you can try removing some on operation, on fragment and on field directives, and that might give you a good response. So don't be demotivated if you don't get any good response, yeah? Now, fourth one is using tools. Maybe I'll show you one tool, yeah? So this is like online tool. You don't even have to install it, maybe, but if you are doing some kind of security testing or something, you should not use online tools. Maybe you can use your own script or something to understand, or maybe some tools like Burpsuit, for example, yeah. That should also be internal to the company, yeah. So you can see like based on the query, it is giving you some introspection result, yeah. It's as simple as that. And this is what I was talking about. It's also giving you, yeah. Oh, I'm really sorry. And slides. Okay, I'm really sorry. I'll just quickly go through this. Yeah. So now can you see? No. I will connect because this is very important to understand. So I just wanted to show. Can you please help? I think it's coming. Yeah. But no browser. Priyam, can you help me? I want to show this Chrome browser.
I think it's on the...
Okay, different, yeah, we'll do, yeah, okay, now I'll do it. Yeah. Okay, so now you guys can see my screen, right? Okay, so this is the tool that I was talking about, GraphQL Visualizer. This is just an online tool where you can craft your query and you can see the introspection result immediately. For example, sometime you just want to test it like just a random product, yeah, just for your understanding, and you do not have some tool installed. So maybe you can take help of these kind of tools. And what was important thing that I wanted to show you is like this visualization. Yeah. So just imagine if this gives the visualization of your backend server, like how the mapping is happening in the backend, yeah. So it's so easy for you to understand, yeah. So don't get demotivated by seeing lot of data, because in the backend, in the server, lot of data already resides, right? So but at least you are getting the idea, like for example, it's not clear, like name string, but birth year string, eye color, all those kind of information you can get for person if you request for the person. If you request for some people age, maybe you will try something else for year. something I am not able to read it. I'm sorry guys. Yeah, but you can explore this tool. Then I'll show you another one. Okay. Yeah, so another one is like you can use some IDE tools like GraphQL. Yeah, it's an IDE tool for GraphQL queries. You can still you can install that and see like this is very helpful for the developers, specifically developers. But it is also good practice to use this kind of IDE if you don't want to use some offline tools. Then I think a lot of people who have used GraphQL, they might already know about this Alchair GraphQL. Yeah, this is also one kind of IDE. It is similar to Postman. Yeah, and now Postman also has the GraphQL support, and that is superb. Like you can use either of the tool. The idea is just to give you the glimpse of what different kind of tools you can see, but at the end you have to understand the query, right? And this is InQL GraphQL scanner. This is free of cost. This is what I was talking about, PubSuite extension. Okay, and you can just install it and you can try to visualize the response and see like what kind of parameters it contains. Yeah. Okay. Now let me. Yeah. So what next? So now we know like all the endpoints we already know. Yeah. And maybe it's good to skip the to directly deep dive into API hacking. Yeah. So I will because of limited time, maybe I'll show you just one quick demo. I have also recorded the video because I already knew there might be less time to show you, but I wanted to show you some kind of demo and just tell you like how it is easy to exploit. Yeah. So let us dive deeper. Yeah. Without wasting time. So this is more like a traditional recon also. Like for example, if your introspection is not working right, then also you can use some kind of tools, and you can even use your manual understanding about the GraphQL, and then you can start reconnaissance for GraphQL. Yeah. So a quick recap: we now have discussed about the different kind of APIs. Why a lot of companies are using GraphQL API. This is very important point to understand here, and how you can misutilize the GraphQL server response just in one query. Yeah, those are the key points that to take away. And okay, let me show you. No, let me show you a demo quickly. So, okay, this is one of the lab from Web Security Academy. This is provided free of cost by Portsfigure, which also builds the product PubSuite, which is very famous in InfoSec community. So this is the lab. Maybe I'll zoom it out. No, okay, this is video. So I'll just tell you like what they want to do. Yeah. So they want to access some kind of private GraphQL post. So there is a blog post which might contain different number of posts, like for example 5 different blog posts, and they just want to access some private post which is not yet public. Yeah, but you still want to know what that post contains, who is the owner, maybe some kind of information will be there. Yeah, so I created a short video today for you guys. Okay, so yeah, and that hidden blog post you can see in the question has a secret password. So our task is to extract that password from that blog because that is private. Company can put any kind of information because it is private. Yeah, they think that it is not exposed to public. But I'll show you like how we can exploit it and get that information. This is the blog post I'm talking about. So you can see there were different URLs for the blog post. Yeah, like view post and all. Okay, and this blog is more about identity theft. And now this, I'm trying to intercept it using burp suit. Okay. So just one small remark. You can see after learning in QL, yeah, that is an extension that I was showing you guys. You can easily install it, that's free of cost, and it helps also in your recurrences process. So see, I told you about the endpoint GraphQL/v1, yeah, earlier in the slide. So I'm just using that, I send it to the repeater, and I'll see like what response I'm getting for this. So that was not the query which I was looking for. So sometimes you have to try different manual queries. That is also GraphQL/v1. So you see like this is the blog post you are getting, right? But what is missing here? You can see here, sorry guys. Yeah, there are different parameters like image, title, author, date, and all those things here. So maybe you try, this is for ID3, we know like ID3 was missing, only ID1, 2 and 4 were visible. So let us see for ID3. Okay, just quick one, yeah. So is it visible to you guys? So sometimes you have to go through different parameters, different queries to understand which is the right query which you are looking for, then try to tamper that. Yeah? So here you see like ID2, ID5, ID4 all are there, but ID3 is missing. Yeah. So let us send this to, I think it is done. Okay. So I'll just try to modify that. Okay, so you see GraphQL, this is just the same extension that I am using, and here I am using it mainly for ID3. I will just give ID equal to 3. Yeah, you see, it's a simple parameter, right? And then it gives me the, okay, it didn't give me any response, so sometimes you have to play around. Yeah, so I try to manipulate the parameter here and I got the block. Now I'll just try to inject, because we were looking for some kind of password. So I'll try to check for the password in this case. So here you can copy URL and you can send it to InQL. And here I'm showing you like how you can just see what are the parameters that you can see. You can see here post password. That was not part of the query earlier. Yeah, but when you copy the URL, you can see these are the parameters that you can pass. So maybe you can directly just copy this parameter and post it in your request, and then you will get the response. Yeah, so I'll do it a little fast, and I'm running out of time. Yeah. So here you see I'm just putting one post password parameter here, and you see there I get post password 7x7BC here. So this is how you can try to exploit the GraphQL. Yeah, this was just a small demo that I wanted to show, and I'll quickly wrap it up now. Okay, so what are the best practices for securing GraphQL? Obviously, what were how you were doing the recon? If you can stop that is the best practice. That is what we usually do, right? So first thing is to validate and sanitize the input. Second thing is to do the rate limiting, okay, because DOS attacks are very common. So you need to check and validate each and every query. The problem here is why you need monitoring and logging is because in GraphQL, if you try to request any query and it doesn't give you the response, it will just show like invalid. Sorry, my wife is calling. I just accepted the risk, yeah. Okay, what I was telling. Okay, for related to query, it might give you some kind of information that validation error in the query, but you need to dig more into the table and columns. What was this exact error that was causing? So developer has more things to do when it comes to the GraphQL, yeah. And okay, I'll just to go and explore more real world examples, and then you can see the successful implementations. I'll not take much time in that. And these are some of the references that I took, and thank you very much. Please feel free to ask a question.
We're actually over time, so we'll not have any questions. You can meet Himanshu after the talks and then have questions.
I'm sorry for taking a little bit longer, yeah, but I wanted to show you guys.
From the Benelux team.
Thanks.